Imagine wanting something.
It'd be a great thing to have a crack at.
Really, really wanting something.
I've about as much chance of being reincarnated as an olive.
Coming close and then seeing it slipping away.
And in view of the circumstances in Parliament, I have concluded that person cannot be me.
And then finally getting what you really, really want.
Here in this People's Government, the work is now being stepped up to make 2020 a year of prosperity and growth and hope.
Only for almost everything to go horribly, horribly wrong. There were floods, famine, and a plague which brought death across the nation. Boris Johnson, the boy who dreamed of being world king, finally fulfilling his dream to become Prime Minister in July 2019, beating Jeremy Hunt with 66% of the vote.
There may even be some people here who still wonder quite what they have done.
If he'd given his mission in power much attention before, and it wasn't always clear that he had, it was to deliver Brexit. But he soon discovered it was much harder than perhaps he thought when he'd been sat on the back benches watching Theresa May make a hash of it.
Never mind the backstop, the buck stops here.
His attempt to prorogue Parliament for 5 weeks, suspending the Commons so they couldn't vote anymore on Brexit, landed him in court. And then after that, things in the House of Commons turned nasty.
And let me tell the Prime Minister that they often quote his words: surrender act, betrayal, traitor. And I, for one, am sick of it.
I have to say, Mr. Speaker, I've never heard such humbug in all my life.
Almost 24 Tories were expelled for rebelling, leaving him with no majority and no plan, but still he insisted we were definitely leaving the EU on October the 31st. No ifs, no buts.
I'd rather be dead in a ditch.
Having accused MPs of trying to stop him getting a deal, he then got one anyway, and then they wouldn't vote for it. Still, he survived the ditch and then spent the whole time insisting he didn't want a general election, while demanding to know why Labour wouldn't give him one.
I don't want an election. You don't want an election.
The election campaign was a mess. When he wasn't hiding in a fridge, he was hiding from Andrew Neil. When he wasn't facing questions about pole dancing with Jennifer Arcuri, there were big questions about the polling, which showed the public weren't really sold on his deal either.
Whack it in the microwave. Gas mark. I don't know what I'm not very good at cooking, but you know. Gas mark 4, it's that. It's ready, it is ready to go. Prick the lid. Put it in.
This is a man who thinks his microwave runs on gas. Luckily for him, he was up against Jeremy Corbyn in the election, and with the promise to finally end 3 years of endless talking about Brexit, he smashed through that red wall of Northern Labour seats, securing an extraordinary, historic majority in the House of Commons, and he could look forward to 2020, knowing that the new year would be so much quieter. A holiday in Mustique was interrupted with the threat of World War III between Iran and America, just as China was notifying the World Health Organization that someone might have had a bat burger and there's this flu going around that it might be worth keeping an eye on. And of course, there was a small matter of finally leaving the EU at the end of January, but in the end without much fanfare.
We're working up a plan so that people can bung a bob for a big bed bong.
Like so many of his plans and promises, that came to nothing. A couple of weeks later, when he lost his Chancellor, Sajid Javid, that wasn't enough to throw him off his stride, and so he promoted Rishi Sunak, safe in the knowledge that this relative unknown definitely wouldn't upstage him. Happy news of an engagement and a baby on the way came just as the horrifying truth about coronavirus was dawning.
We already have a fantastic NHS, fantastic testing systems, and fantastic surveillance of the spread of the disease.
An historic underinvestment in testing capacity, coupled with an admirable if misplaced willingness to hope for the best, left Britain facing the worst.
I was at a hospital the other night where I think there were actually a few coronavirus patients, and I shook hands with everybody.
As the death toll rose and the country went into lockdown, the joviality about hand washing gave way to the biggest crisis the country had faced since the Second World War. Boris Johnson, the man who worshipped Churchill, now faced his darkest hour.
Many more families are going to lose loved ones before their time.
In Keir Starmer, he had a new, more formidable opponent, but in coronavirus, he faced a battle for life itself. In early April came news that the Prime Minister was ill, then in hospital, then rushed into intensive care. For all but the most partisan, this was shocking news for the whole nation. He survived. He was one of the lucky ones.
If this virus were a physical assailant, an unexpected and invisible mugger, which I can tell you
from personal experience, it is.
He vowed to do whatever was necessary, spending billions of pounds, sacrificing everything. Well, almost everything. He wasn't quite yet willing to let go his top advisor, Dominic Cummings.
No, I have not offered to resign.
Yet the hope of a short, sharp crisis has been fading. It's clear now we're in this for the long haul. As Boris Johnson marks a year in Downing Street, he does so knowing he will not be the Prime Minister remembered for Brexit, nor will he be remembered for taking the country through a short battle that was soon over. Like another battle they said would be over by Christmas, this health battle, this economic battle, this social battle will last many years. It will cost many lives, and will define Boris Johnson, a man who has learned the hard way the words of his hero Winston Churchill: if you're going through hell, keep going.